Hello, you're on the channel Infidelity and Revenge. If you haven't subscribed yet, you can do it right now. Enjoy watching. I slipped in unnoticed, grabbed a drink from the bar, and then retreated to a dark corner from where I could discreetly observe what was going on. The late hour and the cleaned-up table suggested that the festive part of the dinner was over, and more than likely so were all the speeches and bonus distribution. Now it was more like a cocktail party. Tables had been pushed back to create a dance floor and a five-piece band was getting ready to perform. My attention was focused on the reason I had come to this event. I watched as she moved through the crowd, talking to people and looking out at the world like she was the lady of the house. I sensed him before he spoke. She's definitely something, isn't she? I turned around and saw a short man with a ruddy face standing to my left and slightly behind me. He held out his hand. Zachary Kin. I work in the Greensboro office. I took his hand, introduced myself and said, "Do you know her?" "Far from as well as I'd like to. I was close once, but intimacy only counts if you manage to fuck, right?" I was intrigued by his statement. "You came close. What was it like?" "You're new to the company. You don't know who she is?" "I'm just a guest." "Well, little Nicky, it's the boss's personal stock, but when he gets in the mood, he shares." The Greensboro branch was the poorest producing division of the company. One day, the boss and Nicky flew into town. Boss gathered all the salesmen in the office for a meeting and then read us the mass layoff law. Told us to turn things upside down or he'd close the office and we could all go looking for new jobs. And then he said, "But to give you a little incentive, I'll make it interesting and give a prize to the best salesman. Nicky, show the boys what the winner gets." Nicky performed a striptease for the boys that would put a professional stripper to shame, and then the boss said, "One night with Nicky to the highest performing salesperson." I missed by a lousy $2,000. My sales totaled $1,562,000, but Larry Foster beat me by $1,800. "Foster, that's him over there." He said Nicky showed him what heaven could be like. "Hey, there's my regional manager, we should go and have a chat," and he left me standing there, staring at my wife and wondering if I even knew her. It was Nicky's company Christmas party, and I wasn't supposed to be there. I was supposed to be in Pittsburgh on business, but events moved much faster than expected, and I was able to fly home 2 days earlier than planned. I tried to call Nicky to let her know, but her office was closed for the day and all I heard at home was the answering machine. When the plane landed, I saw that we still had plenty of time to go to the party, have a couple drinks, and then drive Nicky home and try to catch up on the week of absence. Now I didn't know if I should even bother coming home at all. The idea that my wife was a corporate whore seemed ridiculous at first glance, but Jack wasn't the least bit evasive when he made his statements. Nicky was executive secretary to Barton Wiegand, the company's president and CEO, and she did travel with him when he visited distant offices. And she traveled to Greensboro 3 times that year. My heart was screaming, bullshit, but my gut was saying, check this out. I sat in my corner, sipped my drink, and watched Foster. Half an hour later, he did what I'd been waiting for. He set down his glass and headed for the restroom, and I set down my glass and followed him. Fortunately, he was the only one in the restroom when I walked in. I walked over to the urinal next to the one he was pissing in and looked at him. "Larry Foster, right?" He nodded and asked, "Do I know you?" "No, never met you, but you're my hero." He looked at me strangely, like he thought maybe I was trying to hit on him, and then he said, "Why am I your hero?" "Because you slept with Nicky McGlynn. Do you know how many guys in the company would cut off their left arm just to have coffee with her? You spent the whole night with her. I gotta tell you, that puts you pretty high on the list of people I'd like to be like." I saw the relief on his face when he realized I wasn't a fag trying to pick him up, and he smiled. "Just got lucky with the draw. Zachary Kin beat me by $10,000 on the last day of the contest. I told all my customers about the contest and the prize, and almost all of them increased their orders by 1,000 or 2, and that was just enough for me to win the jackpot. Hey, if you ever get the chance, you better lie, cheat, steal, or do whatever you have to do because it's worth it. He started going through his wallet, and when he pulled it out and opened it, he pulled out a Polaroid picture and showed it to me. I keep this to inspire myself on days when sales are slow. Yes, that was Nikki in all her nude glory. Oh boy, I said wistfully, some guys get lucky in a big way. Yeah, and some guys get it busted in the ass, especially gullible husbands. I went back to my dark corner and prepared to watch. Nikki didn't expect to see me for another 2 days, and I was curious to see what would happen. As the party began to wind down, I walked out into the hotel lobby and sat down where I could watch the doors to the banquet room from. Barton and Nikki were the last to leave, and I had a newspaper in front of me, which I pretended to read as they passed me. I heard Barton say, "Will you leave yours here and come back for it in the morning?" "No, you can follow me," and then they were out of earshot. I guessed that Barton was going to follow Nikki back to our house, and I needed to get ahead of them there so I could erase the recording from the answering machine. I drove like a madman and broke every speed limit in the city. I ran every light in sight, and all the stop sign was to me was something to look at as I drove by. I parked around the corner, ran up to the house, got in, and rushed to the answering machine. I pressed return, and as soon as my message came up, I pressed delete and then hurried to the hall closet where I kept my camera bag. I pulled out the Nikon and checked to see what I had left on the tape, then took the camera bag and ran up the stairs. I set up the camcorder so no one would see it, and then focused it on the bed. At the last minute I remembered the little red light bulb, ran to the bathroom and grabbed a Band-Aid to cover it. 5 minutes later, I heard the garage door opener kick on, walked out of the bedroom, up the stairs, and peeked out from around the corner. Nikki walked in, headed straight to the bar and made a couple drinks, and about 2 minutes later Barton came through the front door. The bastard had a key to my house. Nikki walked over to him, held out her drink and lifted her face for a kiss. Barton took the drink, then leaned over and kissed Nikki on the lips, which seemed to be accompanied by a slight movement of his tongue, and then the two of them walked over and sat down on the couch. "I think it went well tonight. You did a great job, as usual." Nikki grinned. "That's why you pay me the big bucks." "No, it's not, and you know it. I pay you big money because you're the hottest asshole this side of the Mississippi. Your efficiency in other areas is just an unexpected bonus. Speaking of which, I hope you were happy with your fee. You were more than generous, Barton. It should have been more, especially after you had Feldman wrapped around your finger last night. He couldn't say enough good things about you." "Did he stay the night?" "Yeah, and I didn't get a hell of a lot of rest because of it." "I thought you'd never ask," and he got up and undressed. Nikki finished her drink and then knelt in front of him. "All the way through?" "Yes, baby." "How long can you stay here?" "All night, baby. Nancy's visiting her sister for 3 days. How soon do I have to go out?" "You can stay until tomorrow night. The hubby flies in at 2 o'clock the next day." "Why can't I sleep with you tomorrow night too?" "Because I want to be fresh as a daisy when Randall gets home." "Are you sure he doesn't suspect anything?" "No, honey, he's clueless. He loves me, and in his mind, I can do no wrong." And then she put her head down and started doing something that made Barton lean back against the couch, and I could see the satisfied smile on his face. I wanted to go down there and punch him in the face, but I held back my anger. I would get my revenge, but it would be my way. I had several friends who'd gone through divorce and been raped and left to bleed to death by courts and lawyers, and I was determined that it wouldn't happen to me. But I needed the right pictures, and I needed Nikki to take Barton into the bedroom where the video camera could film them. Video with sound is much better than stills, but I still needed the Nikon for backup. They were lying on the couch, and I could see what Nikki was doing to him in great detail. "God, babe, but you look gorgeous in that," he said as Nikki stood up and started to undress. When she was left wearing only her nylon stockings and high-heeled shoes, she slowly turned around to face him. "Do you like it?" "You know you like it, baby. I can't get enough of you." "That's good, lover, because Nikki is horny tonight, so let's go upstairs and see what you can do to help me solve my problem." Barton got up from the couch and, accompanied by Nikki, headed for the stairs. I went back into the bedroom and climbed into the closet, and a few moments later the two of them entered the room. Nikki walked right up to the bed and spread her legs for Barton. "Eat me, honey," she said as he climbed onto her bed. Nikki was still in heels and stockings, and I don't think I'd ever seen a more erotic sight. Erotic, but not what I was looking for in terms of pictures. I was on edge. I wanted to jump out of the closet and start taking pictures with my Nikon, but I wanted as much video as possible. I especially liked the parts where Nikki was screaming Barton's name. I had to force myself to stand and watch and listen. I'd heard and seen enough, pushed open the closet door and headed for the bed. I got 5 good shots before the two of them realized they weren't alone. All of a sudden Nikki screamed and tried to get out from under Barton, and Barton tried to move away from Nikki and get off the bed. I just kept moving around and taking pictures until I ran out of film. Barton ran out of the bedroom and ran down the stairs to where his clothes were lying, and a minute or two later I heard the front door slam. Lying on the bed, Nikki was crying and trying to speak at the same time. "What are you doing here?" she asked, more like an accusation than a question. "You're supposed to be in Pittsburgh." "Yes." "Well, Nikki, I guess you just can't count on me for anything." "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to check into a motel tonight, and I'm going to see my lawyer first thing in the morning. After that, I'll step back and look at what's left." "Why are you going to see a lawyer?" "Because that seems to be the way one usually gets a divorce." "Divorce?" "Yes, honey, that's what usually happens when one partner in a marriage accuses the other of infidelity, and from what I've learned tonight, you've been cheating in whole groups. I'll have my lawyer set up a time for me to come back and get my stuff. Preferably without you being here." I turned to leave and she screamed, "Don't go, Randall, I can explain." "It's not what you think," but I just kept walking. I wasn't surprised when I arrived at work the next morning and found 7 messages from Nikki on my voicemail. I deleted them and got to work. Around 9, my secretary poked her head into my office. "Your wife is on line 3. I was ready to tell her to disconnect and not answer Nikki's calls anymore, but then I thought it wouldn't be fair to Cheryl to put her in the middle of things. I picked up the phone and pressed the 3rd line button. "Yes." "Come home, Randall. I cried all night. I love you, honey, and I need you here." "Awesome shit, Nikki. I don't want to be around you at all. Can we at least get together, sit down, and talk?" "I don't see any need, Nikki. I heard enough last night just listening to you and Barton. There's no way in the world I can think of anything you could say that would make what I heard inappropriate. I don't know what you heard, Randall, but I can explain if you just give me a chance." "Okay, Nikki, where and when?" "I don't want to do this in public, Randall. Just come home tonight and we can talk." "I'll agree, Nikki, but you should know that I know a lot more than you might think. The first time I catch you in a lie, or even a slightly embellished truth, I'll walk away." "Fair enough. I'll be there by 6. I arrived at 6:10 p.m. and found Nikki sitting at the kitchen table. There was an open bottle of white wine in front of her and 2 filled glasses on the table. "Getting me drunk isn't going to help you, Nikki." "I know, but maybe the wine will take the edge off a little." "There's no tension on my part, Nikki. Just regret that what I thought was so good is actually rotten through and through. Please, Randall, give me a chance to explain. It's not what you think. Let me tell you what I think, Nikki." "No, let's do this. Let me tell you what I know. I know you're a slut. I know of 3 men you fucked this year, and from what I've heard, there are probably a lot more. I've seen you fuck Barton. I heard you tell him how much Feldman enjoyed fucking you from behind, and a man named Larry Foster was only too happy to show me a naked picture of you and tell me what a wonderful night he spent with you. A prize in a contest. For God's sake. You were a contest prize for some fucking Greensboro freak. What can you say to make it all go away?" "Okay, Randall, I get the picture. I'm a whore in round heels. A perforator for the company, but there's a reason for all this, and that's what I want to explain. It won't get rid of it or heal my wounds, but I need you to know why I did what I did, even if you won't accept or understand it. Okay, go ahead, I'm listening. I'm an ambitious Randall. I want more out of my life, at least in terms of work. I busted my ass to become Barton's secretary to use that as a springboard, and it worked, at least until last night. I haven't seen or talked to Barton since he left the house last night, so I don't know what my status is right now. Our VP of sales is retiring next month and Barton was going to give up the position to me. I'd be VP of sales, and the chances of me taking over as president and CEO when Barton decides to call it a day would be pretty good. So, I did a few things that were outside the scope of our marriage, but so what? I wouldn't be the first woman to hook up on her way to the top. Besides, it didn't cost you anything, you were never home. Your underwear clean, Randall. Did you never get a taste of weirdness while you were out there, traveling, doing business for your company? Yes, Nikki, my laundry is clean. I've had my chances, and plenty of them. Women who fidgeted in front of me like you fidgeted in front of Feldman, but I always said no, Nikki. I always said no because I knew I had something better waiting for me at home. But I guess I didn't really do that, did I? Of course you did, you know that. I love you, Randall, you know that. You should know that. We couldn't have been together as long as we have been without you knowing. What I did while you were gone didn't change the way I feel about you. Last night it certainly didn't sound like that at all. I could clearly hear you whipping me through your moans while you and Barton were bouncing on the bed. Honey, the whole thing was bullshit. While you were taking the picture, did you happen to notice the size of Barton's wiener? He's half the size of yours. Like most men who feel inferior on some level, Barton needs to stroke his ego. That's all it was, honey, just bullshit to make Barton feel better. Nothing else, Randall, I swear. That doesn't change anything, Nikki. You're still an unfaithful wife and a slut. What the hell is so damn important about being vice president or becoming president and CEO? I make more than enough for the two of us. For one thing, you never had to go to work. That's where you're wrong, Randall. I need the financial security that climbing the corporate ladder will give me. So now, on top of everything else, you're saying I'm a bad provider. Oh, you're a great provider now, Randall, but what about next year or the year after that? You're Randall with a heart attack, just looking for a time and place to make it happen. Your job and the way you do it will kill you, Randall. You're on the road 3 weeks out of 5. Eating bad food, sitting in lounges and drinking in the evenings because you have nothing else to do. When you get home, you spend 10 to 12 hours a day at the office and still bring work home in the evenings and weekends. When you die, Randall, and I stand looking into the coffin, all I'll have left are memories, a share in the house, and $500,000 of life insurance. $500,000 sounds like a lot, but it's not. If I try to keep the house, I'll have to spend most of it to pay off the mortgage, or at least lower it enough so I can refinance and get a payment I can afford. Taxes, whatever they are, would take some of that money away, and then I'd have to pay off all our debts because I wouldn't be able to pay the executive secretary's salary. I wouldn't have much left, and I'd still have to work to make ends meet. Well, you're right about one thing, Nikki. You're definitely going to need financial security because it's over between us. Maybe there was a chance, a very small chance, that we could have survived your affair. Maybe I could understand and forgive you. But there's no way I can accept what you're doing. If you try to divorce me, Randall, I will fight you every step of the way. I'll hire the best divorce lawyer around and I'll fight it. I love you, and I know you love me, and I know we can get through this. You're not going to fight me, Nikki. Do you know why? Because of your precious safety, that's why. Right now you can go to Barton and say, I'm a free lover. We don't have to hide behind Randall anymore. Who do you want me to fuck next? But if you resist me, I'll drag you and Barton into the dirt. I'll make sure his wife gets copies of all the pictures, and when she's done with Barton, you'll be lucky if you have a job at all, let alone a VP position. It's your choice, Nikki, and if I were you, I'd think long and hard about it. Now, since I'm here, I'm going to go upstairs and pack some things. I grabbed my bag and threw a few shirts and underwear in it, and then got the video camera from where I had hidden it and threw it in the bag. I then headed back downstairs. Nikki was standing at the bottom of the stairs, tears streaming down her cheeks. Please, Randall. Please don't do this. I love you, Randall. I honestly do, I love you. We can work this out, honey. Just give me a chance. I shook my head, said, "Goodbye, Nikki," and walked out. The next morning, I showed up at Barton's office at the crack of dawn, so early that he wasn't even there yet. I was sitting in a chair right in front of his office door when he walked in. His face paled and his gait slowed when he saw me, but he feigned bravado. "You're the last person I expected to see here. I've come to make you an offer you can't refuse." As I left his office, I secured Nikki's safety. She would get the VP of sales position, and all I had to do was promise that the pictures I took would never be seen by Barton's wife. I told him he had that promise as long as he treated Nikki fairly. Treat her well, and you'll never hear from me again. Cheat on her, and not only your wife, but everyone else will see them. Why are you doing this for her? I would have thought that under the circumstances you would have gone after her like Attila the Hun prowling the steppes of Russia. Once upon a time long ago, I loved her and she loved me. That must be worth something. She still loves you. What she did has nothing to do with how she feels about you. Maybe not, but to me it does. The divorce was finalized 2 years ago. I get cards from Nikki for Christmas, Easter, Valentine's Day, Sweetest Day, my birthday and any other holiday she might send a card for, and they are always signed, "Much love, Nikki," and all with, "Please call me sometime, I miss you." No. She was promoted to vice president and has since been promoted to executive vice president in charge of operations. Ironically, Barton's company bought out my company and I currently work in the department headed by my ex-wife. Everyone at my old company knows that there will be a reorganization in the near future and that many positions will be eliminated due to duplication. I have no idea where I am on the totem pole, but wouldn't it be a serious kick in the butt if my concern for Nikki's safety cost me my own? Thanks for watching. And don't forget to rate the video and leave your comment.